The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, so I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at Groons.co. That's code podcast at GRUNS.co.
It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 93. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to our podcast. We have a great episode lined up this week. You're certainly going to enjoy it. We have Big Ten Special Teams Football Player of the Week, Dragan Kesich, Gopher kicker, whose 4 field goals helped send the Gophers to a victory over Iowa in Iowa City, and he led the chase to grab the coveted Floyd of Rosedale trophy at Kinnick Stadium. We'll also talk hockey this week with Gopher star forward Jimmy Snuggerud of Chaska. He's playing like an All-American already for the top-ranked men's hockey team in the country. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. And our thanks to Brian Slipka at the very top of the food chain there, who does so much for the community, including supporting Golden Gopher Athletics. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union's also a big sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast. Life math is complicated, and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union makes it easier with local financial experts available to help in person or virtually. You can learn more at affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. They sponsor our player profile segment supporting Golden Gophers student athletes. We're also sponsored by Cub, a proud supporter of the Go Gopher podcast. In a hurry? Don't worry, Cub delivers. Get fresh meat, produce, everyday essentials, and more delivered to your door. Cub's the official grocer of the Golden Gophers and proud to support Gopher athletics for over 20 years. The Go Gopher podcast is also sponsored by Head Flyer Brewing, located in Northeast Minneapolis, right next door to campus. A great vibe, great beer, and much more. Go to headflyerbrewing.com for a list of cool events they have on site, including some things happening this weekend. Take a flyer, Head Flyer Brewing. Our podcast is also sponsored by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at ChamplinInsurance.com. We're podcasting episode 93 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We also want to thank Dinkytown Athletes for helping us secure some of our interview guests for the Go Gopher podcast. To help support the cause, you can log on to DinkytownAthletes.com. We invite you to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast. It's free to do so, and you can go back and listen to the Go Gopher podcast for free at any point from all previous weeks. Last week's episode, for example, we previewed that Gopher Hawkeye game with the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin, one of our very best friends in broadcasting. He's the best, and he had a great visit with us. This episode, we're still talking Golden Gopher football as well as Golden Gopher hockey. Star forward Jimmy Snuggerud will join us in the second half of the podcast, and the Serbian hammer, Dragan Kesich, the Minnesota kicker, will join us next.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
When we say that Cub milk is the freshest in town, we mean it. Less than 48 hours from farm to store fresh. We guarantee 7 days or more of freshness. It all starts with local dairy farmers who take great care in making sure all the cows are happy and healthy. We support local farm families 365 days a year. And that makes our milk even more delicious. So you always get the freshest milk and the biggest smiles.
It's episode number 93, the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, and we have the reigning Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week, Dragan Kesich, with us. A return visit, second visit this season, third all-time visit on the Go Gopher Podcast. And, reason to chat, because what a fun day last Saturday was, huh?
Yeah, great team victory. Brought Floyd back home, so yeah, it was a great victory.
And you had a big part in it. We mentioned Special Teams Player of the Week for the second time, by the way. You got it in week one for the game-winning kick, and you also had another kick that day against Nebraska. Tyler Nubin won Defensive Player of the Week the same week against Nebraska, and then again this past week for his efforts. So pretty cool combo platter you guys got going here on some of these big games with Nebraska and Iowa. I'm going to ask you about the game. I'm going to ask you about the kicks, but I got to first ask you about the race to Floyd. So you were the first one there.
I was.
So take me through how you beat everybody there, and did you have to? Were you doing a little pre-scouting to find out where Floyd was?
Yeah, I was. So it was after Wally's interception. I was asking people on the sideline. I'm like, "Where's Floyd? Where is he?" And then I spotted him, like kind of behind the upright, but he was a little bit to the left of him. And Nubin was like, "Hey, where is he?" I was like, "He's behind the upright. He's behind the upright." So you can see, like in the video, Noob goes right, and I go straight to Floyd. But it was like I was like, "Noob, get back," and then I took off. So
you geeked him a little.
Yeah, I geeked him a little bit.
Yeah,
sorry,
nice.
but
so you get there, you sprint, you get there. It's 98 pounds. Was it heavier than you thought? I mean, 100 pounds almost is 100 pounds almost.
Yeah, it was. I had to wait for somebody else to pick it up because I didn't want to hurt myself. But yeah, I forgot who the next person was, but I was like, let's lift it up, and then we lifted it. And by the time we lifted it, everybody was there.
Yeah.
So
it was funny. I just did an interview that we'll hear on the pregame show this Saturday with Nick Callerup, and I asked him, was he one of the first ones there? And he said that the offensive guys kind of got the short end of it because the clock's winding down. They have the 10-second runoff. They don't think they need to snap it, but they also don't want to just take off.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they were kind of hanging out, and they got to watch you guys go.
Yeah, they were put in a tough spot because the whole way it ended was so confusing.
Yeah.
I
mean, that last 3 minutes is some of the craziest.
Yeah, like we didn't have to knee it, and then the time ran out. I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna run at it.
Yeah.
And then they had to stay there, wait for the time to get hit 0 while we were there when there was 8 seconds left on the clock. So
was the feeling as good as you thought it would be?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Especially like not only for this team, but for all the guys that were here before us. Like I even like seeing Mariano cry was just brought joy to my life.
Yeah. To see him back and knowing how close some of those guys were, because last year it was close. 2020, not as close here. 19 was close, a play here or there. And, over the course of the time, they had won 8 straight. 6 were by, I think it was 8 or less, or maybe even 7 or less. That said, throughout most of that, for whatever reason, the Gophers didn't ever get much of a lead in any of those games. You're always playing from behind, including Saturday.
Correct.
Settling for field goals, which meant some of that onyx of winning that game fell to your left foot, and you were able to deliver.
Yeah, it was. Kinnick is a wild atmosphere. Probably one of my favorite atmospheres in college football, except for the part where they threw stuff on the field at us. But like it was a windy day. It was how many people did they hold? 70,000.
Yeah, 70.
Yeah, something like that. So I mean, it was a great challenge, and the boys went head on, and we came out victorious.
So the wind at times was up to 30. I think it was consistent, like 18 to 23 miles an hour. At the start of the game, we actually made reference on the radio. The flags at the national anthem, the color guard on the field, were blowing from where you guys were across from the radio booth toward us.
Yeah,
the flags at the top were blowing straight to the hospital the opposite way, and the flags to our left, the north end where Floyd was. This is pregame now. They were blowing. Some on the other end were blowing toward us. Some on the other end. So, how did you in pregame try to figure out what the situation was?
I mean, I was kind of finding like behind the uprights things to aim at, and then how the ball would fly after it came off my foot. So pregame, I was finding those like pre-marked locations, and then if I hit it and it was a good ball and the wind didn't affect it too much, I was consistent with that in the game, and that's really what helped me out.
Yeah, and did the wind then have some impact? I mean, was it a factor on all 5 attempts?
I think so. Like it wasn't as much as like kicking into it and kicking with it. It was more like kicking. I don't even know because it was going across the field.
It was a crosswind for a while, right?
So it was just like hit your ball, hit your purest ball, and whatever happens, happens.
So the you go down the first one. What was the first one? A 43-yarder, right?
43. Yeah,
43. Yeah. So it was just normal. Bang the kick.
Yeah, that one. I I think the wind might have died down a little bit on that one, but it was a normal Brady snap, Crawford hold, Kesich kick, and
yeah, away it went.
It went away.
You knew the second it left your foot.
Yeah.
Then the second one
is the one I missed.
Yep.
Yeah, I pulled it.
That was into a wind.
Yeah, that was into the wind.
Was the wind a factor? Or did you just mishit it or combo?
I think both.
Yeah.
I definitely mishit it, but I think the wind also played a factor. But I think it was more about the mishit than the wind, which is what affected the ball.
Yeah. Sometimes as a golfer, you're not always going to square it up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you missed that one. And that was actually, you and I talked on Wednesday after practice because your first career attempt came down there.
Yeah.
Back in 2021.
Correct. Yeah.
And it was that way toward the north, but it was 54 yards.
Yeah. Same hash, same direction.
So it's the same area. The same area of the field. This was a shorter kick. But the reason I bring it up, not to say that, hey, you missed your first field goal attempt, but when we talked Wednesday after practice about it, you said that you felt great when the ball left your foot. They blocked it. It was you had to get maybe a low trajectory to get to 54?
Definitely a lower trajectory, but I also, it was like COVID and I was out sick, and it was 100%. I thought it was going to go in.
You hit it nice.
I hit it pure, and then it just hit the guy's forearm, and I was like, oh, I hit that too belly of the ball rather than up to get it up, and I was like, I just remember because everything went silent. That was my first field goal attempt in college, and everything went silent, and all I heard was the boom of the ball hitting the forearm, and I was like,
How did you have time to be nervous for that kick?
No,
it was so quick.
It was so quick, and it was just like go, and I was like, all right, I'm locked in, let's go.
Yeah.
And then the rest was history.
And the rest is history. So then you had to sit on that thing for a year and a half, right, or so. And then you get the game winner on the opening Thursday night. So how much satisfaction did you take in getting back to that place?
Yeah, it was unreal satisfaction because it's weird because the blocked one from 53 on that hash, then I have the missed one from that hash, and then I had the one that put us up 12-10 from that
go
hash.
ahead. Yeah.
So I mean, it was a big sigh of relief to be able to get back in that stadium and take care of business.
Yeah, and the kick that you missed that came after the sack. And I think Guardsy mentioned on the sideline that do you usually warm up if you're getting into field goal range?
Yeah, I usually hit a couple into the net.
But on that one you didn't?
Nah. I hit it on first down. Usually I do it on third. Yeah. But I think I kind of went into it like, let's just do this thing, which is the wrong mindset to have. But
yeah, he wasn't sure if maybe you were told, hey, we're going to go for it here, wait or hold. You're just ready.
I was just ready at all times.
You're ready at all times. All right, so you missed that one, and then you go down. You got to get three more to get the point. So take me through. I'm trying to think. The next one was 44.
44, yeah.
And that's back to the south end.
Yeah, that's back to the south end. That one felt really good off the foot. It was good to see it go through, especially after that miss.
And you had a little draw on that one too.
Yeah, because I thought I was like, oh, it's coming back, and then it stayed. And then after that was 31 going the same direction.
Yep.
Again, great snap, great hold. Always.
That was after the sack fumble of Newman and Williams, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And then we got and then hit that. So now it's 10-9. And in the back of my head, I'm like thinking, wow, like if I would have made that one that I missed, it would have been 12-10. We'd be in a good spot. And then the defense got us into that was another sack, right? No, it wasn't, because this was after DJ's explosive play.
Yeah, 41-yard or 39-yard or whatever it was.
So the offense did their thing, got us in the field goal range, and then I was able to respond and put us up too.
Yeah, and that one felt good too. You knew it was in.
Yeah, that one felt money.
And so what's the emotion now? All right, as a kicker, I've put us up.
Yeah.
And so now what do? Just wait?
Yeah, just wait for my next opportunity. I mean, I'm kind of on the sidelines, like giving some juice, giving some energy to the guys, but I'm always ready in case we got to hit another one. So
you make the 4 field goals, you win the award, you help the Gophers beat the Hawkeyes for the first time in a while. Guardsy did some interviews post game. You were one of those interviews, and I was taken aback. I shouldn't have been because I know what this game means. I know how much hard work you guys pour into it. But even with all that, it reminded me of the 2018 game in Madison, because that was an even bigger hump. That was like a 14 or 15-year drought to win the Axe. But and then some people are like, they celebrate like it's a Super Bowl. But I don't think people understand what you go through.
Correct.
The work you guys all pour into it from top of the roster to the bottom of the roster, then having to hear about the streak and, oh, man, we had a nice season, but okay, go beat Iowa. So was it just kind of that release of everything at the end of that game?
Yeah, because we haven't won there since, 1999?
99.
So I wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, right.
And so going over there and just being able to get it done, it's like, because since
So what year were you born?
2002.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So like 2020 when I got here, like it was always like beat Iowa, and we haven't beat Iowa, and it's always been like just seeing the like how angry and upset people were that we couldn't beat Iowa.
Yeah.
So finally getting that victory and like after we were on the bus, I was FaceTiming all my old teammates, and they're all excited, like, "Oh, we gotta come back. We gotta pet Floyd, like all this stuff." So it means a lot to us. It means a lot to the state. It means a lot to all the ex-Gophers. So it's with all the hard work and all the stuff we put in, it's just an honor, and it brings joy to all of us.
Yeah, and so then you got your hands on did Floyd feel as good as you thought he'd feel? I mean,
he felt amazing.
Yeah.
He felt amazing.
You got some pictures?
I did get some pictures. We got to put him in his pen the other day, and that was awesome.
Yeah. And then with all of that, you mentioned some you FaceTimed and texted some teammates. Can you share some names guys who really loved seeing what you guys did?
John Michael Schmitz.
Yeah.
I called Brock Walker, Matthew Trickett. A lot of the old specialists were, we have a group chat still, like Matthew Stevenson, Durs, Grant Ryersey, all these guys, and we're just texting. They're texting how proud they are.
They're all loving it.
They're excited. They can't wait to come pet Floyd. So,
and he is in his pen right now. So, the Gophers win the game. So aside from that, now you've got to Sunday night put on those leather vests as a team.
Yep.
And I think it served the program well, the approach of one-game championship seasons, and no game's more important than the other.
Yeah.
But that said, like Saturday was like, you can't tell me that wasn't that wasn't just a one-game championship season, right?
You want to think of it that way, but it's hard to think of it that way.
Yeah,
because
human nature,
exactly.
Right?
Which we fight human nature, but with a game that big, with a game that means that much, especially like when you're just standing on the sidelines, you got the fans like chirping like all like negative things at you, and then finally just being able to turn around and just hold Floyd up to them, and then take it over to our fans. You know, my brother jumped on the field, so that was awesome. It was just a surreal moment, and I'm happy that like my family was there and the boys were there with me to celebrate.
Yeah, and so then on the flip side of that, there was a lot of emotion. Sunday night you have the meetings. How do you? And maybe it's different as a kicker.
Yeah.
And PJ this week made it clear. He's like, don't call Dragan just a kicker. And I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. About he looks to you as one of the top team leaders on this team, which I think is cool. Which I'll ask about. But the reason I bring it up is whether you're a kicker, whether you're a linebacker or a quarterback, how do you now get through that without? Because you're going to have to. I mean, Michigan State's a pretty. Their record's 2-5, but that doesn't. They're playing. They probably felt they should have won at Kinnick a few weeks ago, right?
They have freaks everywhere. So now you move back to that one game championship season. You don't take anybody lightly. You don't play the thing where you play up to your opponent, you play down to your opponent. We play Minnesota Golden Gopher football, and we believe that's good enough to get the job done, and we have trust in everybody on the team, from scout team all the way up to starters, and it's just about going out there and doing our jobs.
More questions for Dragan Kesich here on episode 93. Let me first, though, talk about our good friends from Affinity Plus. They are your local credit union, proudly serving Minnesota since 1930. They're a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast. And if you're a current Gopher student or a proud Gopher alum, that's one way you're eligible to join this financial that wants to build a meaningful banking relationship and put you first. You can meet with a local employee at any of their branches statewide. There's one right here near campus on University in Minneapolis, and again, all over the state. To learn more or find other ways to connect, here's the webpage, affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA, and we want to thank them for their support of student athletes as well. They have a $100 gift card for Dragan.
Thank you very much.
His appearance here on the show. We mentioned that PJ, I asked him about this in his news conference on Monday, and then again on the Coaches Show Tuesday, about how comforting or confident it is for him to know he's got a kicker that can put it through the uprights. It's feeling good, that has some leg, can kick from over 50. And he said that part's great, but he really loves the fact that you are not just a kicker, that you're a team leader, you got a big personality, you lead the team in community service hours, all that stuff. Take me through, one, when you hear that from the coach talking about you that way, but two, why it's important for you to be a team leader and to be a community service guy.
Yeah, it's an honor to hear that from Coach Fleck. You know, one time we're just out throwing the ball on the football field after practice, and he saw me throw, and he's like, "You're an athlete." I was like, "Thanks, Coach. That means a lot." So yeah, it's cool to hear that from him, and like going along with the community service and being a team leader and stuff. I just love giving back. You know, I had a pretty well upbringing. My parents did pretty well, and I've always liked giving back to the less fortunate because not everybody is as fortunate as I am. So I just like doing that stuff, and I like encouraging my teammates to do that stuff. I like leading guys. I like taking a leadership role. It's something that my dad and mom instilled in me when I was a kid, and I think it comes naturally, especially having Crawford there to help me. Him and I kind of bounce ideas off of each other and talk about things that we can implement in the team to help us be more successful. And I think we've done a great job about that.
Speaking of Crawford, he had a sneaky good game. I think it goes overlooked a little bit. Now, again, that last punt, you know, say what we want about it. The rule's the rule. I'm shocked at how much backlash there's been because it's a clear. I mean, PJ's exactly right. There is no controversy. The rule is the rule.
Correct.
I mean, most anyone who follows football should know when you give the sneak away, get away, fire, poison, Peter, whatever it is, you can't return it.
Exactly.
And to me, the best way I've tried to explain it to people is, but then why'd they review it and all this stuff? It's like, well, if a ball bounces and a receiver catches it and runs in for a touchdown, do you think that play should be reviewed?
Exactly.
And they say yes.
Yeah.
Well, why would this one not be reviewed?
Exactly.
The guy is not, you know what would have been, because it is a hell of a bad way to lose if you're Iowa, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking the whole place is going nuts. Kid is an incredible talent.
Correct.
How he got through that, I don't know. He did, scored, and then the trapdoor falls out on them. So I get the emotion of it, but it isn't like, okay, did he step out of bounds? No. Okay, had he, what would have happened?
Yeah.
They'd overturned it.
Exactly.
And there's no subjectiveness to this.
Yeah.
I mean, he waved his arm. He waved his arm 4 times in that game because Crawford did a nice job of directionally kicking, not just on the hash, but outside the numbers. He waved his arm 3 times in the first half exactly the same way, but the ball rolled dead.
Yeah.
In this case, this bounced high. Yeah. I don't think he had an intent to return it until he saw the bounce, and I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah.
The point is Crawford had a pretty good game. Aside from that return, which certainly wasn't his fault, he put that ball in a perfect spot, right?
It was 6 inches from the tick mark.
Yeah.
So he put that exactly where the coaches wanted him to. I mean, the player made a hell of a play, but...
Yeah. But part of why he kicked it there was so that you'd do the getaway side.
Exactly.
That guy can return it from anywhere. We saw that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, I mean, I don't know. He didn't have many return yards, right? 7,
0.
Maybe? 0 was a 0,
because they returned 1, but it was a block in the back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then...
and then the one that they called back, which was reviewed and corrected.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the miss was they didn't blow it dead the second he touched it. That was the miss. People, for whatever reason, are really struggling to grasp that, and it's not an uncommon play.
It's not.
I mean... I think it was 7 times between the 2 punt returners they did the wave off. So
yeah, exactly. And it's
one time they decided to try to return it, and that's a whistle dead.
Yeah, you can't do it. And Croft did a great job of eliminating that number 3 from any explosive plays because he's if he can get his hand, if he can get his hands on the ball, he can make something happen.
I mean, he's going to be playing in the NFL. He's going to be a 1st or 2nd round pick.
Correct.
And that's why you have Mark Crawford not punt it right to him,
exactly.
but strategically keep it away from him a little bit. So I thought that was a sneaky part of the game that they eliminated the some of that, and he still made some good plays for sure. What was going through your mind though when you saw that play?
I was standing there. I'm like, okay, I saw the punt location, and I'm like, okay, great punt, Crawford, great punt. And then I saw number 3 just yes, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And when I tell you, I've never heard something so loud.
Yeah,
Kinnick was unreal. That was the loudest thing I ever heard. And as I'm watching, like I know I shouldn't watch this, but I saw Crawford lay somebody out.
Yeah, I heard. I didn't see that. I got to go back and watch. So he leveled somebody.
He leveled somebody. He's like, it's not that impressive. He was like 190 pounds. I'm like, hey, that's pretty impressive. But I was just like in awe. And then I remember they went to review it because I think that at first they were reviewing to see if he stepped out.
Yeah.
And then so then we saw on the jumbotron that he didn't step out, and we're like, oh. And then I look over at Coach Fleck, and he's like, it's coming back, it's coming back. And I'm like, what? So then I start going, it's coming back, it's coming back. And everybody's like, no, what are you talking about? And then it happened.
They announced
it went from like shocked to we're still in
We're
this.
back in it.
We're back in it.
We're going to win this thing.
Exactly.
And then the defense made the play. They got Danny Strigo gets the sack on the first play after the ball's brought back to the 46, and then an incomplete, and then Wally jumps in and gets the pick, and now it's kneel down, and it's Dragan Kesich on the way to get Floyd.
Yeah, exactly. Defense had an amazing game. I some crazy stat about the second half. Coach Rossi knows what he's doing, so it was awesome to see that.
12 yards total for Iowa in that second half.
Yeah.
So I've got an interesting story. Many of our listeners know this. I grew up in Iowa, going to games there.
Oh,
so when I was 10 years old, 1981.
Wow,
it was my third game ever going there.
Yeah.
Minnesota's playing a ranked Iowa team. It's the last time Minnesota beat a ranked Iowa team. I was at that game as a 10-year-old.
Jeez.
One of the all-time great Gopher kickers, Jim Gallery, kicked 4 field goals, and Minnesota beat Iowa 12-10.
Wow. What?
That? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. How about that?
That's crazy.
So 40, whatever it is, 2 years later, you kick 4 field goals and beat Iowa 12-10.
Wow.
So
that's
there
nuts.
You go. And so I went, having grown up in Iowa, I took, my brother still lives in Iowa, and then my best friend from like first grade still lives in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
He sometimes they both sometimes will come up in the booth and just watch because it's fun to go back and see family.
Yeah.
So my best friend was in the booth. He was with us at that game when we were 10.
Wow.
Froze our rear ends off. It was like wind chill 5. And at the time then, I'm devastated that Minnesota came in and won.
Yeah.
Now this time it's the total opposite.
That's
where I'm like,
crazy.
maroon and gold, let's do it.
Yeah.
And you're the guy that kicks it 4 field goals, and my buddy is up in the booth with me. He's helping spot and do things. And
crazy how
it was
life
nuts.
works. That's nuts.
40 whatever it is 2 years later. So
I didn't know that. That's wild.
yeah. So same score,
Wow.
4 field goals, and there you go. All right. So a couple of quick things. So the win puts you at 4-3.
Yep.
Not that you're ever out of it, but now you're right back in the thick of this thing. So
Correct.
what's the mentality for the team?
We were in this exact same position last year, 4-3.
4-3,
Yeah,
right.
because we won 4 in a row and then we lost 3 in a row. And it was always we got to beat Iowa. We got to beat Iowa. Well, we checked that off the box this year. So now I think if I'm not mistaken, we control our own destiny, or
Yes.
maybe something like that's got to happen. But it's that one game championship season. Every game you got to attack, and you got to bring all the boys with you, and we gotta do our thing. And players got to make plays.
Your success, how much fun are you having to finally get your chance and then to really not just like kind of muddle along, you're having an impact every week?
I'm loving it. I love every moment. The boys, I love all the boys. Even after every field goal, everybody gives me a high five. Crawford and I and Brady do our little Spider-Man celebration. It's I'm loving every moment. I'm not taking a single moment for granted, and it's a true blessing.
Yeah, and hopefully more great moments lie ahead as well. Michigan State this weekend.
Yep.
I'd be remiss before we let you go, as a Milwaukee guy. The NBA season started this week. The Greek Freak signs a $180-something million,
$186 million 3-year extension.
deal. So he's back with your Milwaukee Bucks, and then they make this trade in the offseason. I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I know enough that Damian Lillard's a pretty darn good player to add to the Greek Freak.
Yeah, I was sitting in the training room, and I was just scrolling on my phone, and I look on Twitter and it says Damian Lillard to the Bucks, and I didn't even think anything of it because it was always like Dame to Miami, Miami, and I was like, okay, the Bucks, we have True Holiday, nobody's gonna do anything, and I see Damian Lillard to the Bucks, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's sad because True Holiday was a great player, great defensive player, great offensive player, help us win a championship, but I saw Damian Lillard come in, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we have a chance of winning another one. So we'll see how that goes. They play tomorrow. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah. Is that their opener tomorrow?
Yeah, their opener's tomorrow, yeah.
And then this weekend, Vikings-Packers.
Yes.
So you got, I'm sure, teammates on the Gopher team that are Vikings guys, and you're a Packer guy, obviously.
Correct.
So any in-house bets here?
Cody Lindenberg and I will probably do push-ups or something.
Yeah. Because
he's looking a little small, so we got to get him looking big a little bit.
You can't do more push-ups than him.
Arguable.
Really?
Nah, probably not. But but yeah, he's a Vikings guy. I'm a Packers guy, so we'll probably get together, watch the game.
Yeah.
Talk a little smack to each other, but
that's awesome.
It'll be
Serbian Hammer T-shirts are out, right?
They are.
How are sales going?
Pretty good. They're going. Yeah. In the Milwaukee
you help win the game against Floyd. You got to sell some T-shirts.
Yeah, in the Milwaukee community, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
My parents are saying they're seeing people wearing them. So
is that right? That's awesome.
It's awesome. It's a great feeling. If you want to buy it,
is that through Dinkytown Athletes?
Dinkytown Athletes.
So how can people get the Serbian Hammer T-shirts or hoodies, right?
Yeah, hoodies, shirts, whatever. It's in my Instagram bio. Or if you go on Dinkytown Athletes, they like post it.
There'll be a link somewhere.
Yeah, there'll be a link in there. But
it's pretty cool design. Did you help design it, or did someone?
No, I mean, I gave them like some ideas to like put the Serbian Hammer, and then they kind of ran with it.
Yeah. So how did the Serbian Hammer nickname come about?
Norris Wilson came with it out of nowhere. He calls me Serbian Hammer, knower of all things. And they're like, so what do you want to put on the shirt? They're like, oh, we can do like the release, the Dragan, something like that. And I was like, let's put Serbian Hammer. So then it was like a nice, cool edit with like the ball's a hammer. And it's pretty cool. I'm a fan of it.
So go to the Dinkytown Athletes page. There'll be a link for the Serbian Hammer gear or your Instagram.
Or my Instagram.
What's the name of what's your handle?
It's my first name, so DRAGAN_Serb SERB 8.
There you go. Well, I would wish you many more field goals, but I prefer touchdowns. Is that okay if I say that?
Hey, that's perfectly cool, because then I get extra points.
Yeah, hopefully you kick a whole bunch of extra points Saturday.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm with it.
We always appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
He's awesome. He's Dragan Kesich, the Serbian Hammer. It's episode 93. Hey, Gopher fans, let me talk for a minute about Head Flyer Brewing, a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast. They have a great location for so many reasons, with a couple of cool events coming up. They're on Hennepin, just near the Golden Gopher campus. Coming up on Friday, they have the Fall Sip and Bloom. You have to pre-register. Go to their webpage, Head Flyer Brewing. It's a Sip and Bloom class. It starts at 6 o'clock. It's a do-it-yourself flower arranging course. Coming up on Monday, they have a sushi making class. And again, you have to pre-register. 6:30 Monday night, Birmingham sushi classes. They'll be hosting this intimate and fun-filled evening at the Brew House. It's Head Flyer Brewing, all kinds of other good events as well. They've got 2 for Tuesdays. They have trivia night on Wednesdays. And, of course, it's a great pregame and postgame spot for Golden Gopher football games. Stop in before or after or both. They've got Gopher-themed craft beers for this fall, including the Ryu Ma and the Maroon Golden Ale. It's a great location, as mentioned, great craft beer, great for socializing. They got big screen TVs. They also can serve as the game watch for Gopher road games. So all of that at Head Flyer Brewing. HeadFlyerBrewing.com for all the info, all the events. Take a flyer. Head Flyer Brewing, proud sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm.
Hi, Gopher fans. Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on lights, we switch TV channels, we switch on the TV. And with the new transfer portal, some college students even switch colleges, which can seem crazy to us diehard fans. But what's not crazy is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, my agency can switch you over so we can start saving today. My team is ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood and show you it is, in fact, easy to switch and save. When you want the real deal, check us out at ChamplinInsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Episode 93 rolls on the Go Gopher podcast. We're talking hockey this segment. Thrilled to be joined by Jimmy Snuggerud, Chaska, Minnesota, and good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
I think the last time you and I talked on an official thing like this, you were, I think, where in Newfoundland, or where the heck were the juniors? I forget now.
Yeah, we were
New Brunswick. Right?
Yeah, we were out in Halifax. It would have been when I was with you. Yeah, Nova Scotia.
How was that experience?
It was good. It was crazy. Just the atmosphere there. It's just reminds me a lot of Mariucci, honestly, and what different countries have to bring.
Yeah. Let's talk about your 4 games into the season. You swept St. Thomas in opening weekend. A fun night at the X. You got the game winner in overtime. 2 goals the next night, and then split with rival North Dakota last week. You're ranked number 1. 4 games in. Give me an assessment of this Golden Gopher group.
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot early as a team. I think just kind of, the upbringing of our freshmen have been really cool to see them kind of build into our program. And, our young guys are learning our systems really well right now. I think to start off with St. Thomas, we weren't super strong as a team, and the second night we came out a little bit more hot. But I think this last Friday against North Dakota, we really showcased what we have as a team. Obviously shutting them out. Justin Close played really good in our net, and then Saturday we kind of gave the puck away too much, but I think just this upcoming week against Wisconsin, it'll be a huge showcase of the talent on our team and what we have to bring. Yeah,
that North Dakota was it's a good early season test, as you mentioned, especially with some of the new bodies that you guys are putting out on the rink. What do you think you learned about your team up against a top 5 team?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, honestly. You go against North Dakota, at Ralph Engelstad Arena, it's a lot different than, what you're going to see all season. I think just that talent that was brought from them and, the atmosphere that they bring it's another level of college hockey, honestly. And, so what some of our young guys brought to the table, that those two games was really cool to see and really cool to watch. I think just kind of as we go on now, we learn from those games. We learn from what we lost in the second night, and we'll obviously bring whatever we have coming up.
The young guys you mentioned, you were that young guy last year with a number of others, and there were veterans like Faber and Lacombe and Johnson and who am I forgetting? Nyes, although he was not a young. I mean, he wasn't an old man either, but a young guy. So how are you maybe trying to fill some of those shoes with now the new guys to know that you've been through it and you understand what they're doing, trying to fit in?
Yeah, basically just emulate exactly what they did to me. I mean, those are some of, I'd say, the best leaders I've ever had. Brock Faber's, he's in the NHL playing 25 minutes a night now. He understands, the game of hockey. And, go to Jackson Lacombe and Matthew Nyes. Those two older guys are both playing heavy minutes, at the top league in the world right now. And, to kind of learn from them and to hear what they have to say to me, that's exactly what I'm trying to do to the younger guys right now, kind of bring them in, realize that we play 40 games. You don't need to get it all in the first, 3-4 weeks of college hockey. But I mean, just basically the motivation factors that I learned from them and what it takes to be a pro are things that I'm kind of factoring into my life a lot and, trying to prove to the freshmen. You were, as a freshman last year, of course, a first-round pick. So expectations were like, this kid's pretty good, and you came right out. I think game one, right, put a goal, 2 goals maybe. Was it Mankato? Yeah, it was game 3.
Game 3. Yeah. And you got a similar situation now with one of your line mates, at least early here with Oliver Moore, first-round pick, lots of high expectations. How do you try to help him along and help him, too, specific to him?
Yeah, I think just not put pressure on yourself. Ollie, he really understands the game well, and he's a motivated kid, and he knows really early and well that he doesn't need to put pressure on himself. Obviously, he's had a really hot start to the season right now, and, kind of just, letting him know not to get too high and not to get too low and kind of keep that stable mindset moving along is something that, I'm trying to factor on him, but he really understands it himself. He's a very smart kid, so, he'll be good. Good to get him in the scoring column early, too, like you did last year. I think, if I'm remembering right, Cooley, he was pushing a little bit, right? It took him a minute, and once he got going, then it was like lights out, right? I'm gonna maybe go win all the national awards, but is it good just to get that early goal and get it out of the way so you're not kind of pressing? Because I thought Logan pressed a little early last year, right? Yeah, I know. I think Lindenwood was kind of the jump of a series for him, and then on from there, he kind of, he like you said, that just stepped back a little bit. And, obviously he won all those awards at the end of the year. He's an unbelievable player. But, getting that first one and kind of getting ahead of the game is pretty important for, especially guys like Ollie, just not put pressure on himself and, realize that, he's playing good games and he's enjoying it too. And you guys haven't been able yet to be full strength. Some guys are, battling some injuries and different things. And so it, and Coach Motzko sometimes will change lines anyway. So who knows where it goes from here. But how good do you think this group can be once everybody's healthy and once you maybe have some roles established? And I think he said last week that this next month he's going to, everyone's going to learn a little bit, because you got the Badgers, who are now ranked, Duluth's coming in, you got Michigan, Notre Dame conference games. I mean, you're going to find out some things here in the next 4 weeks. Yeah, I think honestly the sky's the limit for our team. We shut out North Dakota, a top 5 team, 4-0 without Mikey Kester and Mason Nevers. I think those two guys are, probably the biggest leaders in our locker room. They understand the game and what it takes to lead in the locker room. And, to have them back and to know that guys are filling roles in game 5, 6, 7, and 8 is pretty massive, to know that, we can be even better than what we had this last weekend. What's the, obviously you play on an NHL ice sheet often, but what's it like being in your home arena now? And even during the week, in some weeks you don't have to go across the way to practice at Ritter. What's that been like? Yeah, it's honestly really different. Just kind of, you don't have to walk all the way over to Ritter. You just walk out the locker room and you're on the ice. But I think and it's not really too different. I think just the factors that, it's a smaller ice rink and you don't have to go all the way over to Ritter, and just kind of know that you get to practice on your own rink before you leave. It just, makes it a lot easier for our guys. And have you, it's NHL is NHL, but there are some, even like Wisconsin, right? It's a little different size. It's not like baseball where it's 90 feet to first base. It can vary by a few feet. How does the sheet play? Do you like it? Yeah, I like it, honestly. I like how it's a little bit bigger than, normal size. I think just that little, 5 feet of space is pretty. It makes a big difference in a hockey game, and to know that, when we go to North Dakota and it's a smaller sheet and they're running around trying to kill us, and we're doing the same. I think it just kind of when we get home, things slow down just like that half second. It's just so important, and it just makes it that much more fun.
Do you like the NHL size better than the Olympic, or do you like more space?
I like the NHL size more on the power play because shots are coming in quicker from slower places. But I think for 5-on-5 play, I like the hybrid, but it really doesn't matter to me that much.
You're helping here on this podcast as part of Dinkytown Athletes. How has that been for you guys with the hockey team and school-wide as well? DinkytownAthletes.com for those that want to help out.
Yeah, it's honestly really cool to just know that 4 or 5 years ago there wasn't this in college sports, and that we have the opportunity to have this and be here in this time and day and get paid for being a college athlete. It's really cool, and I think that our guys definitely aren't taking it for granted. We understand that we obviously need to play well in order to earn that spot in Dinkytown Athletes, and I think just kind of having that foundation there for us and on our backswing, it's really huge.
And there's there's some justification in it when you think about you guys are coming out and there's 10,000 people there, so it's obviously there's money to be had and there's support to be had, and 3-4 years ago it wasn't, you guys couldn't take advantage. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of I think it's fair and unique that and Minnesota I think is going about it the right way. They're not getting too far ahead of themselves or figuring out what's going on, but it's enough to to justify some things, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think they're doing, they're taking the process that needs to be taken. They're not jumping into, high conclusions, and they're not taking it slow either. They're just doing it at the right speed.
All right, so you got the Badgers. As we're recording, it's Wednesday afternoon, so a little more than 24 hours from as we're talking here on campus. You guys will have the rival Wisconsin. Maybe it's happened. I'm sure we could look, but this seems like maybe the earliest matchup I can remember with these two border rivals. Conference, obviously, they have a new coach, Mike Hastings, who you guys have seen when he was coaching at Minnesota State Mankato. You last year, and then over the course of previous years, of course, with other guys. What can you tell us about the Badgers? What do you see from them?
Yeah, I think obviously they're a pretty different team from this year, from last year. Tony Granato was a really good coach. He was an offensive skilled coach. He understood the game really well, and then he handed off to Mike Hastings, and you can kind of see how Mankato played as a team. They're more of a gritty, determined team, and you mix that determination with the skill that Wisconsin had. It can create havoc on our team, and just kind of watching their film and seeing what they have, they're going to be a strong team, and we can't take them lightly. They obviously have a returning goalie from last year, but I think if we kind of take the same route on North Dakota and not give them any, solitary chances, I think that will be okay.
The thing that impressed me the most, and that run was so fun to watch you guys really from start to finish, was the relentless nature every night. Like, you play as many games as you guys do, and it's a long season, October to you hope April, right? That's a long time, longest college season of any sport. But you figure somewhere there's going to be a clunker or an off night. You might have had one, maybe the one Wisconsin game, Arizona State, but you guys were having Thanksgiving meals at the Nice, so maybe it's understandable, but it was pretty relentless. You guys were good almost every night. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, I think just, we obviously took a couple nights off last year, whereas we realized we can't do that. I think, those losses, they put setbacks in our team, but I think every team needs to face adversity, honestly. Just adversity really, really helped our leadership group and helped us, work through our problems, and, we obviously realized our mistakes and we worked on from them, and I think kind of, having those adversity steps in our year were huge last year, and I think this last Saturday in North Dakota, it was a little bit of an adversity step, and it's really good for our young guys to kind of learn from that and, take it into this weekend.
Yeah, how do you now, learning, as you mentioned last year, from the Fabers of the world and stuff, that you think about that, it was a Frozen Four the year before you got here, and those guys, I'm sure they wanted to get fast forward and just get right back to it, and I could see how it'd be easy to kind of sleepwalk through a part of the season knowing how talented you were. They never did. So how do you do that? You're ranked number one. You're one of the leaders on this team to say, look, guys, we want to get there, but we got to come out every night and be good.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of taking the same advice that those guys gave me last year. It's kind of just taking it day by day. Those guys are never jumping in the future, and they're never looking at the past. It's just kind of taking it month by month, and I think, that our guys can do that this year. Our older guys, Nevers, Bradzinski, Nelson, and Kessler, those guys have all been through it. They understand, what it takes to get there, and I think it's just kind of how we take it day by day, just practice by practice is what we learn the most from.
That game, you get down to Tampa. What do you take from that, the championship game, which you're 2 minutes from the dream, hoisting the trophy. Now what do you take from that into this year?
I think it's just straight motivation factor. I think just kind of, stepping on the ice, realizing every day, we lost that game by, 3-4 minutes. And every time you step on the ice from now on, it's, we want to win that national championship. And that's the goal we have set on mind. But it's just kind of back to taking it day by day. We can't step into the Frozen Four right now because, we have a whole season to play and we have to win games. So I think just kind of having that day by day factor and learning, each and every day from our teammates is something huge.
You mentioned Nevers, you mentioned Kester and yourself and others in there. I would guess Brodzinski, he's been around, seems like forever. How important is Justin Close to all this too in terms of leadership and obviously the production on the ice? But he seems like a guy that people can get behind.
Yeah, I haven't really mentioned him. I mean, he's the backbone of our team. Honestly, he's kept us in 3-4 games this year. He understands he's been here for 5 years, so he gets the backbone of Minnesota hockey, and without that guy, we wouldn't even be where we are right now in our standings. So to kind of have him as a leadership role is to see what he sees and what he brings to the table every day. I think he's the most mature guy on our team by far. He understands what it takes to bring young guys in and teach them what they need to know, and he has that maturity with him all the time.
You're a property of the St. Louis Blues. You have attended, one or two of their camps now?
Two.
Do you keep track of it much, or are you focused mostly on, Gopher hockey, obviously, but do you kind of keep, at least out of the side of your vision, what's going on in St. Louis?
Yeah, a little bit. I think just kind of, keeping track of the standings. I watch, basically every one of the games they play at night. I just kind of, laying in bed, turn it on and kind of see their games and their skill level. Obviously, it's another level, but I think obviously I'm focusing on Gopher hockey and living here on campus, and you only live college once. So I think just kind of having that mindset, obviously I can watch their games and see what they have, see their skills, but I think just kind of living in the present with the Gophers.
Those prospect camps, what do you learn from those? Can you take stuff from that and incorporate it into your game at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think just kind of what St. Louis has to offer is pretty cool. The player development coaches, they're really smart people, and the GM there is a really smart guy. He understands the game really well, and I think just kind of knowing what those player development guys have to offer, and the talent at the camp is pretty insane. Obviously they have the top draft picks there, so I mean it's really cool to go against those guys and see their skill level and see what they have to offer as hockey players. But I think just kind of taking a lot of things from camp as I've come.
Last week you did an interview with a bunch of us in kind of a group setting, and you were asked about the North Dakota rivalry, and of course your dad and grandpa played for the Gophers, and that's a big thing. You mentioned something in that answer that it wasn't necessarily a slam dunk that you'd end up at Minnesota. You had a top 5-ish, and take me through that recruiting process, because I suppose I look at it and I'm like, oh, of course he was going to be a Gopher, but there's a lot of good opportunities outside of Minneapolis too. So how'd that all work out?
Yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily all Minnesota, like I've said before. I think there was a lot of other schools in there that I debated going to. Like you said, North Dakota, Boston, Wisconsin, all the schools were in there, and I didn't necessarily have my foot set in the door at Minnesota. But once I came here and saw the players that were coming in here and see who I was going to practice against every day, going against guys like Nyzy and Cools, Fabes, and Comer, and even Ryan Johnson in practice, it's like I can become this much better in practice every day if I, go to this school. And I think I wasn't obviously sure they were going to come back or not, but once they stepped foot and came back in the door, I thought, wow, this is the spot for me to be.
What do you think your dad and your grandpa think when they see you skate out there?
Yeah, I think, obviously they're really happy for me. And I'd say, my grandpa always really wanted me to go here, but my dad didn't care as much. But I think just every time they see me step on the ice, they're so happy to, see me as a Gopher and see me out there with, all the teammates and friends and guys, we have a lot of guys from Minnesota, which is really cool. But I think just kind of to have them there to stands, it means a lot more than what comes to the eye.
When you are in front of 10,000, you score a goal, the rouser plays, they're chanting the MIN, your parents and family are up there, friends, students that what's that emotion like?
It's crazy, honestly. Every time, there's no better feeling than scoring a goal at Mariucci, just because you grew up watching it. And I remember literally 4 years ago standing in the whatever section watching the game, hearing the rouser, and then you play your first game and it's like, whoa, this is really happening. And then obviously coming to my second year and it still feels the exact same, skating onto the ice and scoring a goal. I think there's really no other feeling like it.
When it's jammed, it's loud. loud in there.
Yeah, it's super loud. It's crazy.
Who were some of the guys when you were growing up that played for the Gophers that maybe you watched? Did you have favorite guys that you watched?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of guys. I really liked watching Round Bukestad. I think those two were kind of the guys that I grew up watching, and I remember just watching them play NTDP one year, and I had no idea what NTDP was, and those guys were, I mean, it was so cool to see that they were playing a USA hockey team, and obviously I watched other guys, like Middlestad was in there. He's such a skilled player. Rem Pillick was kind of the area when I was a Pee Wee, and I kind of realized, like, these guys, they're really talented hockey players, and I just kind of seeing that North Dakota series when they would come here, it's it's all kind of a little bit of a dream now, but it's really cool to think about.
I remember when we talked on the it wasn't the podcast, it was a different feature that we were doing on Zoom. You mentioned that your grandpa still gets on the ice. Is he still getting out there and playing like every week?
Yeah, he is. He's still on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think he might be 86 now. I'm not sure exact on his age, but he's still skating and having a good time.
How have you gone and watched him or skated with him much?
Yeah, when I was probably 8 to 12 years old, I used to go out there with my cousin every Tuesday and Thursday and skate with him. Obviously, that was a little while ago, but he was still pretty old out there. Those guys they all have a good time. Honestly, it's really cool to see how hockey can support you your whole life.
So is he in a league, or is he just out skating, or is it like an old man's league or something?
Yeah, it used to be a league. They used to go to Florida every year, and I'm not 100% sure on it, but they used to play in Florida against other guys. I think it's a 50 and up league, I want to say 55 and up, but they're still out there Tuesday and Thursdays, and then they have a beer after all the guys and make some food.
It keeps them young, probably,
yeah, exactly.
Right? And this is your mom's dad,
yeah,
right? So so you kind of have it on both sides, mm-hmm. Your mom's dad and then your dad, yep. And here we are 3 generations later. Yeah. So how did your mom and dad meet? Through hockey?
Yeah, it was actually a lot of weird stories. So my grandpa actually reffed my dad too when he was on the Olympic team, and it would have been at the old Wild rink. I'm not sure.
St. Paul, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, something. But my dad was playing. He was on the Olympic team, and my grandpa was reffing him. And I think my mom was at the game that my dad was playing, and they hadn't met yet. But they met when they were 28, 29, I think. My mom was working at Joe Sensors, and can't remember who introduced them. It was a hockey guy too, but I think it's just like so weird to think that they were so close and then they met in the future.
That's awesome. Yeah. And both your dad and grandpa were Olympians, right?
Yep. My grandpa was on the 62 Olympic team, I think 60 or 62 or 64, I'm not sure. And then dad was 88 Olympic team.
Yeah, and got to be a dream of yours at some point, right? And keep going, progressing. How fun would that be? You've been on, where's hockey taking you? We mentioned mm-hmm. Nova Scotia and some other spots already, right? Yeah,
Switzerland a couple times, Germany too. NTDP does a really good job of, kind of creating the, European trips. And, it's taken me a lot of places, honestly. I'm really fortunate to be in the spot I am.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, hey, I'll let you get back to it. Game as we tape, game tomorrow, game 1 of a 2-game set with the Badgers. Let's go out and beat the Badgers twice this week.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, very good. Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks.
That's Gophers star Jimmy Snuggerud on episode number 93 of the Go Gopher Podcast. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with him as much as I enjoyed chatting with him. We also want to thank Minnesota kicker Dragan Kesich, who, as always, was so compelling in our first interview segment, sponsored by Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, with great products, support, and people. That's a banking hat trick, to use some hockey vernacular, right after talking with the great Jimmy Snuggerud. We're also presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Cub sponsors the Go Gopher Podcast. Cub is the official grocer of the Golden Gophers. Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis is proud to sponsor the Go Gopher Podcast. Head Flyer Brewing is just a mile and a half from the stadium. Stop in for great tasting craft beer tonight. And don't forget, Head Flyer Brewing is a pregame and postgame Gopher football option for home games, including this weekend. Come on in and warm up before and after Minnesota and Michigan State. We're also brought to you by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and right now, please click the subscribe button to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to listen and free to subscribe. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. We'll talk again next week.